Welcome to the September 21st, 2023 Helm Developer Call. And I see, Greeny, you've put the minutes in there. So in today's minutes, we have no announcements, but we do have a few topics. I'll actually add the announcement in that the Helm release or the minor release is set for next Wednesday. So before our next call, we'll have a minor release of, was it 3.13? Unless we have a regression comes in that pushes us back. All right. And with that, I will hand it over to Ian because you've got the first discussion topic.
All right. This was a pretty interesting issue I've been kind of diving into a little bit, and that's that if you have installed the plugin using dash dash version and using a Git repository, it appears that plugin update does not work, which makes me think people haven't been doing that very frequently. And the reason is the underlying provider, it gets past a reference when it first gets installed. And when you run an update, it just asks for that tag, the latest thing that tag points to that was like the version when you installed it. So it just updates, it gets the latest commit for the old thing, right? For the tag that you specified using dash dash version. My initial thought was maybe when you run Helm plugin update, it should, if you're using version control as a backend, it should just switch to using the head or the head of the main branch. I don't know. It was kind of curious. I'm like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But then what is latest? You could like pull the tags and do a semver sort or something along those lines, but it feels like maybe that's not what we want to do too. So open the floor for thoughts on that one. You're on mute, Matt.
Yeah, that's an interesting problem. And how we want to go about doing that. I haven't looked at this code in so long that, and I don't know what's documented anymore. I'd have to go read to see if there's some behavior that's outlined in there that tells us. Now, I understand the problem, right? You pointed at a Git reference, but you don't actually know what the default branch is, right? If you've just got a Git repository, the default branch, is there an easy way to get the default branch?
I mean, it seems to be if you don't specify a version, it does that. So I would think that somehow we could revert it to that behavior. Although it's not
Yeah.
with the library we're using, it's not entirely clear how you would do that, but I'm sure there's a way to say, hey, use the default branch if somebody runs update.
Yeah, we'll need to go dig into the code. I'm not sure. Is it the Masterminds VCS code base?
That is the one.
I wrote that. So it's
Oh,
my fault.
okay.
Yeah, so I wrote most of the code in there. So it's all code that I've written more than 6 months ago, and so I definitely would need a refresher on it. But okay, yeah, no, this is a very legitimate bug. And so I have opened those. It's on my to-do list today. I've spent the whole morning on other stuff, but it's on my to-do list to look at some of the stuff like the write the latest to version to get that helm.sh bucket. I've got a number of things open that I was planning on reviewing, and I can put this one on the list there of
Good.
open tabs that I've got right next to my notes here, and actually take a look at it and see if I can figure out. I would say it's a legitimate bug, but what behavior should we do? Should we do semver across the repo, looking at tags? Should we look at main? I I haven't looked at the plugin system in more than 6 months, so
Yeah.
I can't remember.
My thought is that because people have been relying on the behavior that it just tracks latest, which is what I suspect most people are doing. Most people aren't using dash dash version. Probably if you run update and in the past you've used dash dash version, we should just switch you to the main branch like most. I don't know. It is a little tricky because it's like, does that really what you want? I don't know, but it's probably.
Yeah. Well, we'll go ahead and I'll just start poking around at it, see what's documented, see what's expected.
Hmm.
Maybe there's something clear in there, but I can add that to my to-do list just because I've already got a to-do list here of Helm stuff for the afternoon. This morning was CNCF. This afternoon is Helm.
Yeah. So I saw Joe mention, he expects Semver for tags, but that also means then we have to think about the case where there are no tags, which is maybe even most
Yeah.
plugins aren't even bothering with tags and you just track main. Um,
Yeah.
in that case, I guess you could maybe look for latest Semver and then if you don't find anything, then default back to the other behavior. But anyway, it's not as simple as it first seems. As most things in software engineering, it's never as simple as it first seems.
Yeah. And for some of this, right, when you go clone something from GitHub and you automatically get the default branch, once you're in there and poking around to find it, just behavior is different. So let me go. I'll go take a look at this and see what I can come up with and put it on my afternoon to-do list.
Yeah, if people want to put some thoughts on that issue, I mean, this is something I could dive in and try to, open a PR to fix it for too. So I just kind of looking for more guidance on and thoughts from the community on what do we want to do in this case. So
Yeah.
I was thinking tags because you want the latest release. You don't necessarily want to track, the head of main. And
Yeah. And
if you
really
don't want
what
the head
you
of main, you can use the version flag.
yeah. And for some of this, some of this even depends on what's the documented behavior. Even if it's not ideal, if we have a documented behavior somewhere, then the bug is between the implementation and the documented behavior, not some ideal, right? For the ideal, we would need to go for Helm version 4, which we'll talk about soon. But
yeah.
that's the thing there.
Um, Yeah, I mean, I had a quick look for documented behavior and I didn't see anything unless it's buried in a hip somewhere. But I didn't
Yeah.
search through the hips, but
Okay. Yeah.
um, heck, maybe there's even something on the mailing list or I don't know. The behavior to me, I think has been, I think it's been lightly used overall plugins, so um,
Yeah.
not a whole lot out there. Anyway, so I have the
Okay.
next one too. I don't know if anyone
You
has
do.
anything.
Go ahead.
Okay, hook output hip has been getting a lot of attention, so that's been great. The Argo team was having a look at it. I got some feedback. I implemented an idea to implement to the PR, and the Argo team seems to like it, which is, hey, let's add an item to the configuration that lets you create a function that passes IO writers. So you get the namespace, the pod, and the container for each thing you're writing, an IO writer um, that's going to receive the logs from that container. And yeah, so I think that hopefully resolves that. I know Matt, you were the one that opened the kind of the discussion on that, and I think it was a great. It was I think very worth considering. So I'm glad you did. I think it makes it a lot more useful. So yeah, if you get a chance to look at that and kind of
I'll put
uh,
it on my afternoon list of things I'm reviewing here.
yeah, and
So
the other thing on that one was there is a spot where I on the PR to edit the PR where I'm calling out for OS standard out. I did think when I wrote it even like maybe I should get standard out from some place that's more generic, but at the same time I was like, do this I feel like this is always going to be written to standard out. So I don't know if there's any reason to obfuscate the fact that it's standard out. So um
I'll take a look.
yeah, yeah. So
Yeah,
yeah.
I'll take a look. No, good. Okay. Yeah, I'll put that on that's on my to-do list here to poke at it.
Awesome.
Add your commit to it. I didn't see that. I just saw the hip. All right. No, good. I'm glad to see this is slowly moving along. Yeah, the one thing I noticed about the hip is that they haven't been following the DCO. So I'll leave a comment to point it out. But that's the thing why it's got the big red X on it. They're not signing their commits, which
I'll
the CNCF basically requires.
so actually those were my commits, and I guess it depends on what spot because I was accepting recommended changes, and so I signed them.
Oh yeah.
But for some reason, if you're in one spot of the web UI, it signs them, and if you're in another spot, it doesn't. So I'm going to rebase it, and
Yes.
I'll get it
So
signed.
there is, yeah, the signing is a a funny thing. Like I tend not to accept those changes. I just bring them over and maybe reference that they gave them, because the GitHub UI and accepting those and signing can get funny. And I always run into this problem that you've got here.
Yeah, I'll just rebase it anyway because
Yeah.
I feel like we probably want it as one commit in any case. So
Sounds good. I will take a look at it though. It's on my
Yep.
to-do list.
thanks.
All right. And then the next thing that I wanted to talk about was Slack and Keybase. We don't have a lot of the maintainers here, but maintainers have been having, over the last while, far too many conversations in Keybase. And so I think it's time we make an effort to bring those conversations back to Slack from Keybase. So that way we can get more community involvement. Unless it is something that is critical to be private, which those things occasionally come up, security, things like that. But I wanted to discuss that. And we've got a bunch of channels these days. So there is Helm Dev in the CNCF, which currently has 205 people in it. And then we also have in Kubernetes a Helm Dev that has over 5,000 people in it. And that's just and then there's a Helm users that was separate. If we were going to start really using one of these again for all of our conversations, what do you all think? And a lot of it is in the Helm Dev under Kubernetes. It's a lot of, hey, folks, can you look at my thing? And I see Ian, you're in there.
I mean, Helm Dev seems like the right spot to me, but
yeah,
that's my
that
2
was the
cents.
traditional under Kubernetes, and so
Yes.
I didn't even know there was CNCF Helm channels. So
I didn't know about the Helm Dev CNCF one until I think Joe pinged me in response to something in there. And then I'm like, where did this channel come from? And it had always been under Kubernetes. Oh my gosh, there's a couple hundred people in here.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even realize that one existed either. I'm just joining it now.
it might be good to point people towards the Kubernetes one. That seems to be the canonical one, at least for me.
Yeah.
I put in
Hey,
Maybe we just need a Slack bot that if anybody says anything, that just tells them, nope, not here.
Go to the other channel.
I really wish like the Kubernetes Slack overall would just fold into cloud native Slack, so it was just one Slack, but that's a whole other.
That's a whole other ball of politics.
Yep.
yeah, for the two channels under Kubernetes, or at least I and a couple of other people I know, Andrew Block does as well. We try and point like user questions to Helm users, and Helm Dev is more reserved for discussing PRs and development of Helm, which I kind of as the channel implies it should be. I would recommend we continue to try and keep that separation of concerns. If we're going to have two channels, then they should be appropriately utilized.
There's just a Helm channel in CNCF with 2,900 people in it. Really? All these things I don't know about.
There's also a Argo Helm charts channel in CNCF that has 1,700 people. And then there's some other Helm related ones.
Wow.
Hmm.
What does the Kubernetes Helm users have?
So the
24,000. Yeah, we should probably just point everybody over to the Kubernetes one. It's got 4 more people in it.
the title and seems to already point people back to, at least for the Helm in Slack.
Yes, it does.
A bot would be nice to point people if they comment, just, hey, go ask in the Kubernetes Slack.
Yeah. Does anybody know of a bot that does that?
I've seen bots before, but I'll have to go look for it. I have to remember.
You know, the other thing we could maybe do is just join the channels. I don't know, that might get really weird, but it, you know, in Slack, you can join 2 channels between the 2 communities, but that would need a Slack admin from CNCF to do that.
Easier just to point people.
I don't know if you can join across organizations either, because I think Slack treats organizations as like completely separate.
Yeah,
No,
they were
it
designed to
will-
be separate companies.
You can.
Yeah, you can
can?
now. Yeah, so we could actually join Kubernetes and CNCF into one channel, a shared channel. But I don't know. It might really be the only permanent way to get people to stop talking in it. Just to say there is only one entity.
Yeah. Okay.
I think what you're saying is correct, but I mean, if you want to take that on, then sounds like a large project of Slack management to join those.
Yeah. It would only take a Slack admin seconds, but finding the Slack admin, I don't know. Does anyone know a Slack admin on either one of these?
Finding the Slack admin, getting all the approvals from whoever they think needed approvals from.
I mean, I can poke
Bureaucracy.
and ask. Yeah, bureaucracy. I'll
Yeah.
take it to go ask in the background. They may have some precedent or philosophy on it with CNCF and Kubernetes, but I know who to chase down over there.
Yeah.
So I'll take that on. All right. Before we, does anybody have anything else they wanted to cover today? Okay. Then let's go moderator, notes, issue triage, PR review, those things. Who's up for what?
I can do triage
Thank you.
as usual.
And anybody else up for anything?
I think I'm here next week. I could do moderator. Unless Joe wants to do notes.
I was trying to look at my calendar. I'll do notes.
Okay.
Slack.
I'll moderate them. Thanks, Joe.
Perfect. And I'll put in some time on PR reviews. I don't know how much time I'll get, but I will put in some time. Heck, I've already got some open to review. Okay. Do we have anything else, or should we call it early?
Who
Oh, go ahead.
who said they would do issue triage? I didn't see. Okay, George. Usually, thank you.
Thank you, sir. All right, then we'll give you all time back. Thank you all. We'll see you online and see you next week.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you. Bye.